The concept of destruction is one of the simplest concepts in Honkai Star Rail. It is just the decimation of everything that is and represents the final overarching threat of this game. But recently we have gotten some lore drops that have made me rethink what this path truly represents. Because when looked into with a different lens, we can understand Nanook in an entirely new light. And with the Dahlia soon to release, I believe she has already revealed to us some key info about this path. Because sure, we can look at the destruction like,
kill everything, death to all that lives.
But I don't think it's that simple anymore. And like I always say, nothing in Honkai Star Rail is truly simple. And you see, Hoyo loves to write their villains as heroes that have always simply lost their way, such as Cocolia Ran, Sunday, or even Xandar 1 Kuwabara. Sure, there are Fantilias out there that just exist to cause pain, but I think Nanook is different, and in this video, it is my goal to tell you exactly why. Because this is the true meaning of destruction revealed. Okay, so before we talk about the destruction, we need to address our turncoat mimetic entity. Because Dahlia, aka Constance, is a very unique character that flies in the face of every other person we have met on our journey. Normally a path strider or emanator is either born into a path like the Holovians in Harmony or the Foxians in Hunt, and they just simply stay in that path, or follow another path and just stick to that one like Baihung, who is a nameless. Even Sunday, who is now an Express crew member, still follows the Harmony over the Trailblaze. It is exceedingly rare for someone to swap from one path to another, and the only one that comes to mind is Oswaldo Schneider, who was a nameless at one point, but this ain't about him. Because the reason why I bring this up is because Constance is an anomaly, to say the very least. Listen to this.
Oh? Didn't I say that I too was a memo keeper once upon a time? I betrayed the remembrance and the garden due to some differences in our ideals. Earlier still, I was also walking the path of destruction, only to betray it as well. These traces made of golden blood are the marks the destruction left on me. Now I walk the universe as a cremator, as well as a child of Duke Inferno.
She followed the destruction, then the remembrance to the point that she dedicated her life to it, even casting away her physical body to become a memo keeper for the Garden of Recollection, but due to her ideals not aligning with the garden, she abandoned this life to join Everflame Mansion as a follower of destruction. However, with the fall of Ifrit, Constance has returned to the remembrance as a cremator, because she said earlier still, so she had to follow the destruction, then the remembrance, then the destruction again, and finally return to the remembrance as a cremator, because that faction still counts as a remembrance following one. And to make things even weirder, she has marks of golden blood on her. She says this herself.
These traces made of golden blood are the marks the destruction left on me.
Which is the same thing that Ting Yun has that would forever cause her agony if it wasn't for Ruan Mei.
I can't let you regain your ability to feel just yet. You'd be in excruciating pain. Your body was contaminated by the destruction and suffered severe damage. As I said before, these wounds will stay with you for the rest of your life.
But if I remember correctly, this mark is a brand of destruction that was from Fantilia. So how did Constance get this mark? Well, this had to have been something akin to being gazed at by Nanook or a run-in with a Lord Ravager, which is incredibly ironic because earning Nanook's gaze was the very goal of Ifrit, and he never got it. But his underling either did or got very close, and he probably never knew it. So judging by what she says, and if I'm understanding everything correctly, Dahlia's backstory should go something like this. She started off as a destruction follower, earned the gaze of Nanook, or met a Lord Ravager, then endured the searing and unbearable pain left by the brand of golden blood, then realized that she was going to die from this, and then joined the garden because the only thing the destruction can't destroy is memories, so she threw away her physical body because she had no attachment to it, it was only causing her pain, so she could no longer feel the pain of the golden mark blood thing, and realized that she didn't like what the garden stood for, so she left there and then joined Everflame Mansion under the moniker of Duke Inferno's child. And finally, after Acheron turned the Duke into a relic set, she became a cremator and now refuses to dedicate herself to either path. This woman has commitment issues. but it's kind of understandable considering that she was burned by both paths. The destruction quite literally, and we have already experienced the dark side of the garden. And speaking of the garden, we can now understand her relationship with Black Swan better, because apparently Constance says that they go way back, but wouldn't hesitate to set a trap for one another. And while we aren't sure about how Black Swan feels about this, we know that this is true for Dahlia, because it was her that got Black Swan to look into Acheron's memories and nearly die, so...
I know what you're looking for. Want her secret? I can give it to you, and then you can enjoy the banquet for me. I wish you unforgettable memories.
We know for a fact that she made poor Black Swan have an unforgettable memory, or trauma, on purpose. Why she is targeting the remembrance, we don't exactly know. If I had to guess, it's probably the same reason Evernight does. Ran into some evil memo keepers and memo snatchers and had a really bad time. Which you would think makes her an Enigmata follower, but no. Cremator. Same powers though. Deleting, fabricating, manipulating memories. Cremators and Enigmata followers both do that, the only difference being that Cremators want to purify the Pure Land of Recollection, and Enigmata followers want to change the memories collected into the Pure Land. But odds are Dahlia is as much of a Cremator as Acheron is a Galaxy Ranger. It's just a title she uses so that she can do what she wants. I say this because she is apparently the one that will help us recall some things we missed and patch up the many holes in the Penacony story, such as what killed Robin and what Firefly did after flying off to who knows where. Fun fact, I'm not exactly fond of Penacony and the Harmony Path gets on my nerves. But back to Dahlia, because patching up the holes in stories is not what Cremators do. That's a memo keeper thing, and that's why I say that her calling herself a cremator is just a title she gave herself. She's going to just do whatever she wants. Again, commitment issues. But now that I think about it, maybe she just wants to commit to everything. She was a memo keeper, so she still does memo keeper stuff. She's a cremator, so she does cremator stuff. And she's a destruction follower, so she still does destruction stuff. Maybe it's the fact she wants to commit to everything instead of nothing. Anyway, that's besides the point. Because here is where I get kinda confused. Because all logic suggests that she would abandon the destruction. I mean, this path did nothing for her, and even though it was the first path she ever followed, it only served to cause her pain. And judging by Dahlia's consistent nature of doing whatever suits her needs, there has to be something in it for her. Maybe she just likes deleting memories, or she needs the destruction for revenge against the garden, or something like that, but something about all this just feels off. I mean, why would anyone follow the destruction? It has no positive qualities, right? It's more like the Nihility. Like, no one actively follows the Nihility because they like the void. They follow it because they fell into the shadow of IX. So it's kind of just attached to them. But destruction followers actively follow the destruction, which is confusing. Why do they do this? They have no reason to do this. Why would they want to just destroy everything? Do they just want to watch the world burn? No. Because stay with me here, because this simple question made me rethink my entire view of the destruction. Hear me out. This is where things get crazy. Because as we know, Nanook is insanely strong and unreasonably dwarfs galaxies in size. This is confirmed by Castellana walking through what appears to be galaxies only to land a scratch on Nanook's face. And Nanook's emanators have feats that are straight up unfathomable. Zephyro is on record destroying a galaxy, Luxbane blows out stars like their birthday candles, and Phantilia can destroy people down to a spiritual level. So with all of that in mind, I ask you this one question. If Nanook's goal is to destroy the universe, why haven't they done so already? What is Nanook waiting for? This Aeon is already strong enough to accomplish what their path suggests they are after. And an Aeon is forced to endlessly pursue what their path represents and cannot defy it. Taziron duplicated endlessly and caused problems for 2/3 of all living worlds in the entire universe. And they did this as soon as they ascended. And that was just one Aeonic crash out. So why is it that when Nanook ascended, they only destroyed Adlevon and didn't instantly wage war with every other Aeon and living being? Do you see the glitch here? Taziron never stopped duplicating, Lon never stops hunting, Akavili never stopped trailblazing, and Kaplot never stops building their wall, unless they gotta squash a bug, but other than that, back to wall. And all of these Aeons are operating at max capacity all the time. So why doesn't Nanook? Well, the only reason I can think of as to why Nanook hasn't already won is that they don't think the universe needs to be destroyed yet. And while that does sound crazy, it makes sense, because the only reason why Nanook would want to destroy something is because they view it as tainted. But what exactly classifies as tainted to them? Well, considering that they ascended because of the Machine Empire and Swarm disaster, I would say war. War is the thing that taints the universe. So Nanook has started a war to end all wars, resulting in the heat death of the universe. But here is where things get really contradictory really fast. Because Nanook by nature doesn't kill things. In fact, their golden blood brings things to life. The Amphorius people are clear signs of Nanook being able to have progeny the same way Lone can. But they aren't even an exception, because with every Lord Ravager as they ascend, dies and is revived again through Nanook patching up their deficiencies. So yet again, Nanook is creating life through destruction. So I kinda understand that if you fixate on this, you end up like Lygus, thinking that the prime mover of life is destruction, but that's besides the point, because not only can people live through Nanook's golden blood and be healed by it, but what if I told you that Nanook is targeting the other paths of finality, Sheepe and IX? Why would Nanook, the Aeon that aims to destroy the universe, have emanators who have the sole goal of destroying the paths that would aid them in their quest to end the universe? Something really isn't adding up here. Nanook is the Aeon of contradictions, the same way Lon is the Aeon of friendly fire, and I can't figure out what they are trying to do. They give life to things they destroy, then aim to destroy the universe, and haven't yet, even though they are clearly capable of doing so, and have Lord Ravagers that are kinda counterproductive to what their end goal is. Which is another reason why I am not giving up on Finon being a Lord Ravager, because if he is targeting Nanook, then that would be all 4 paths of finality covered, especially if Clipoth is one of them. And Nanook is definitely not against self-destruction, even though they create and sustain life. And to bring this all back to Dahlia, though I am not sure where her loyalties lie, being a cremator is what the manifestation of Nanook's will would be in a mimetic entity, burning away all that is tainted in the pure land of recollection. Even though the remembrance views all memories as precious and normal people believe all life is precious, Nanook doesn't think so the same way cremators do. But somehow that doesn't mean that they don't value life at all, because otherwise the universe would have gone boom a long time ago. Taziron caused problems the moment they ascended. But for some reason Nanook is different, and I wish I could tell you why, because this is driving me insane. But at least we can understand that destruction isn't blind wrath, it's purging. And perhaps the universe hasn't reached the point of where it needs to be entirely set ablaze. Yet. And Finon in patch 3.6 is the perfect example of this, being split into 2 halves. One half is only wrath, and the other side still holds the original desire for justice, saying that if he is born to be a vessel of sin, then he will roar at evil, the same way that Nanook was born into a world ravaged by both of the worst events known to history, and now roars at what made them what they are. War. So the reason why Nanook hasn't destroyed everything is Nanook. They are holding themselves back because a shred of innocence still remains. This Aeon still has hope for life, and that is why their lifeblood sustains life and patches up deficiencies. And this is why Nanook is always bleeding, because that innocence is draining from them slowly day by day, and the moment it's gone, Nanook will have lost hope for the universe. And then it's purging time. Because think about it, every single one of Noose's instants involve a large-scale catastrophe, and every single one of Noose's instants bring the universe one step closer to destruction. The Border Star Trade War, the Machine Emperor's Wars, the Fall of Rupert I, and Iron Tomb's rise. Only 2 of these happened after the ascension of Nanook, but all of them serve as proof of the universe being tainted. Nanook loses more and more faith in humanity with every instance occurrence, and the moment that faith is gone, the universe is cooked, and Nanook will no longer hold themselves back. And if Amphorius is a microcosm of the cosmos, Phynon mirrors Nanook. There is a wrath side and a side of hope. And this is the true meaning of destruction. Revealed? I think Dahlia will teach us some valuable things about the destruction and hopefully clear some things up. Though I'm not hyped for an 8-week drought, hopefully we will get some juicy things to talk about with this Penacony quest, right? Lately I've been thinking about some paths that people write off as simple, and man, these are not simple at all when you look into it. Destruction truly is the path of contradictions, but when you look at it as if Nanook is in two halves like Phynon was, it makes a bit more sense. I mean, heck, Nanook is only a top half anyway. That has to mean something, right? Bro has no legs. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.